Hi, welcome back to the second part of the Runners Training for a Marathon series. We left off on fuels and fluids, which are a huge important part of training for a marathon. So let's talk about that. I think we ended talking about this belt. This is not enough fluid for a long run. Long run, the maximum for your long run if you're training for a marathon is typically 18 to 22 miles. I recommend at least 20 a couple of times towards the end. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to plan your route around some gas stations, or if you want to keep passing by your house maybe, so that you can maybe put your Gatorade and water in the mailbox and refill this up, because this is not enough fluid, but it is convenient to have with you so that you can have a drink at any time. If your run is going to be longer than 90 minutes, you need to have an electrolyte replacement like Gatorade. Powerade works as well. This is the full calorie kind. They also have the low calorie kind if you're concerned about that, and it gives you the electrolytes that you need just as well as the full calorie. These are different options that you can use for fuel replacement. After about an hour, your body's going to need more fuel. And this is the Goo Gel brand. This one has caffeine in it. I like the Clif. I've used both, but I'm leaning towards the Clif brand now because they use all natural products. It's 90% organic. Doesn't give me as much of a stomach ache. These can be iffy on your tummy. If these in general don't work for you, you can always use bananas and oranges. A lot of people use those. These are little Clif blocks. I love these. They're delicious. They're not as easy to carry because this is big and long, but you can put some of them in a baggie, which works too. And I love these mini Clif bars. They're traditionally a lot bigger and have a lot of calories in them, so I'm glad that they're making these mini kinds. You'll see them on your marathon course oftentimes. And let's see, other gear essentials. This was my saving grace after having my baby. I trained with it a ton for my first marathon. I think the longest run that I took my infant in it was maybe like 12 or 13 miles. So, if you have a sleeper and you get a blanket for them, they'll sleep with you. Or if they're like kind of more of a toddler, you can even, get them their own iPod and put movies on it, and they can watch that while you run, and it's kind of a lulling motion. And I don't know, my daughter liked it, worked for me. They are quite a bit of an investment, but you can always check KSL or Craigslist and get them used. Mine was used and I saved a couple $100s on it. They're regularly like $500 or so, and used is just fine. So let's see. Also, no-brainer, eat well. We can talk about diet forever, but if you're training for a marathon, be really smart about your diet. Good carbs, a lot of carbs, whole grains, pastas, still a lot of starchy vegetables, and you want to limit the sugars and fats and just the no-brainer nutrition stuff. So 2 days before your long run and your marathon should be high carb days. You've always, if you're involved in running, you've probably heard of the pasta party that most marathons put on the night before. I don't know how I necessarily feel about that. I don't think, they'll use like white breads and white pastas, and I don't really like that too much, and I don't think there's too much benefit in gorging yourself in a ton of pasta the night before. Just eat smart, and definitely don't eat anything that you haven't tried before on your long run or your marathon, because anything that will upset your stomach or cause you to go to the bathroom is going to make your run more miserable, and it's going to make your time slower. So the morning before a long run, I think some good options are maybe like an energy bar and a banana, or a bagel with peanut butter, or toast with peanut butter. If you can, eat 2 hours before you run. Sometimes that's not possible. Drink about 16 ounces 2 hours before, and then like right when you stop to avoid bathroom breaks. So we talked about water a little bit. Let's just talk about what happens if you don't drink it. It can lead to fatigue. It can lead to dehydration, muscle cramping, heat stroke. There have been runners known that have died on the course of their marathon because they thought it was more important to run really fast than to stop and get their hydration. I recommend, even though it will slow you down a little bit, but I think that you'll make up in time for what you get into your body, take 10 seconds at each aid station. An aid station in a marathon is going to be every couple of miles, and I think that you should take a cup of each of your electrolyte replacement and water and drink them down, and then get started again. And then on your long runs when you're training, make sure you hydrate throughout the day as well after your run so that your body can replenish. It's also really important to stretch. A lot of runners avoid this. I have a hard time with it as well. It's something that you're just so tired after your long run that you don't want to stretch, but it's really important for your muscles, and it will help you, prevent injury. And there's lots of tips online for stretching. We're not going to go into that because we don't have a ton of time, but let's see. And then try to be restful for the rest of your day. If you're after your marathon and after your long runs, you've beaten your body up, you deserve to rest. Try to take a cold bath if possible, because that will help your muscles. Let's see, training. An official schedule will last you about 4 months or 16 weeks, and you should be comfortable running about 3 miles before you start without discomfort. The schedule for like a beginning-ish intermediate runner will be you run 3 days a week, and you're going to run like 3 to 8 miles 3 times a week, and then your schedule will be on your long runs will be 8, 9, 6, 11, 12, 9, 14, 15, 13, 17, 18, 13, 19, 12, 20, 12, 8. Sorry, that was confusing. Print it out, put it on your fridge. It helps you. Check off the days. There's a pattern to this. You'll increase for a couple weeks and then you'll go down. And you'll increase for a couple weeks and go down. And this allows your body to kind of rest and recuperate, because injury is common because you're really training your body. You also have a 2-week taper before your marathon where your mileage will go down. Do not overdo it during this time period. Your body needs to rest, and you'll do much better on your race day if you're not overdoing it, and it'll, help with the injuries. Training schedules can vary depending on the fitness level of the runner. There are lots of excellent resources online. Hal Higdon and Jeff Galloway, even if you feel really uncomfortable with running the whole marathon, there are lots of plans nowadays where you'll run 7 minutes and then you'll walk 1 minute, or whatever variation you're comfortable with. But you can finish a marathon that way. It makes it a lot easier. Training can be really hard. Keep going. You'll likely have runs that feel really, really awful. And just try to get through it. Endurance is the most important thing. And try not to focus too much on your time, because on some of the runs that feel really bad, because you'll get better. Let's see. If the weather is terrible, you still need to run. Unfortunately, you can always try the gym at the treadmill at your local gym if it's really, really bad. Remember, a lot of this is mental mastery, so try to have a positive attitude. Smiling helps. Talk to yourself. Music helps. As far as pacing and goal times, some races have pacing teams. They're really great. Like I talked about with Cliff. Cliff has a pacing team. They run a lot of the popular marathons like Los Angeles, Disney World, really big ones. And they have times for like 3 hours for those crazy, amazing people, 4 hours, 4.5 hours. And you can get with them, and they're really fun. And they will push you, and they'll tell you lots of stories, and you'll be amazed that they've run 300 marathons. And it just helps you to know that you'll get through the race. When training, try to set a realistic goal. To do that, it's good to know what your heart rate is. VO2 max is the maximum that your heart rate will ever go, and to do that, the best thing to do would be to warm up, and then if you have a heart rate monitor, that's the best way to do it. Wear this, warm up, and then run as fast as you can, best on a treadmill because it'll push you the hardest, probably like 10 miles per hour. Run as fast as you can for 3 minutes, go off for 2 minutes, do it at like a normal running pace, and then go 3 minutes again, and then look at your heart rate, and that is the max that it will go. It'll probably never ever go, it won't go ever higher than that. And then when you wake up in the morning, you need to take your resting heart rate, you look at that in the morning, and then you subtract the two, and that is your target heart rate for your runs. And you want to typically be running your miles on your long runs about 30 seconds slower than you traditionally would, because you're going for endurance. So when you know that target heart rate, you can use percentages for, it's actually called working heart rate. You can use percentages to determine how hard you're going to run. So 60% of the working heart rate would be a recovery run, and it's going to be dead slow. It's going to feel biomechanically off, and it's important to do that though, and you'll do that for about 30-40 minutes. 60 to 70% of your working heart rate is like a long, slow run. That would be ideal for your training runs on Saturday. 70 to 85% of your working heart rate would be speed play, like moderate paced runs with some like fast training in the middle to help you improve your pace. 85 to 90% would be more like your 5K run, your 3 miles or your 6 miles. You're running really hard and as fast as you can. It's probably not that comfortable, but you can still maintain that pace for at least 3 to 6 miles. So obviously not like your VO2 max, but it's still going to be a challenge. Sometimes it's fun to do smaller races along the way when you're training for a marathon, because your fitness level is higher, so you're going to get better times on those races. So it's sometimes fun to see how much better you can perform in that. Training alone or with a person, I've done both. There's benefits to both. When you have someone you can talk about it and get excited about it, and you can be accountable with each other. But it's best if you are both at about the same race pace, because that can, be detrimental to one of the persons that's going to have to go slower. Or you can do it yourself if you're really disciplined, and by doing it that way you can often improve and really get your time higher. There's also running groups that are often available in different people's areas, and those people are usually pretty good, and they'll help you to do the best that you can. Let's see, running injuries are almost always from overuse and overrunning, and so you want to really keep an eye on any little twinges that you're feeling. I'm going to talk about some of the different running injuries. Runner's knee, and we talked about the Tenoid strap. I don't know where that went, but that happens to a lot of runners. It happens because the IT band along the bottom of your knee, it runs up your leg, up your thigh, and it often happens because your thighs aren't strong enough to support, and so a lot of runners have that problem, but the patella strap helps out with that. Something similar is the patellofemoral syndrome. I get this. It's just kind of general knee pain. It happens, they also call it the moviegoer's knee. If you're at the movie and you have your legs crossed, your knees will start hurting, or if you go down the stairs, your knees will start hurting. Just kind of happens for runners. There's also shin splints. That's the front of the leg, the tibia. Stress fractures can happen in your knees and your feet and your leg. Plantar fasciitis happens to the bottom of the foot, and it becomes really painful to walk on the foot, especially when you wake up in the morning. It can feel like pins and needles. It's really uncomfortable. Achilles tendonitis happens to the heel, and ankle sprains. And some of the things that you can do at home would be icing it, resting. Ibuprofen is a really great thing, and wrapping sometimes, obviously taking time off. And if it's really bad, you should go see a sports medicine doctor. Physical therapy might be necessary, and possibly even surgery. Lots of runners get arthroscopic surgery on their knees, which isn't too invasive, and usually they're back and running in a month or so. The best way to get motivated about a race is to research one and pay for it, because then you're accountable to it, and you know that you're going to lose the money, and you should also tell people about it, because if you do, then you have to get up in the morning and do your long runs, or else you won't do well in your race. Utah's a really great place for running. There's a lot of marathons here along the Wasatch Front. Some of the most popular are St. George, Ogden, and Utah Valley has actually become a really popular one. They're all generally downhill, which is nice for the most part. It can sometimes be bad on your knees, but a lot of people enjoy our marathons here. Salt Lake's also a big race, and that's a nice one because it's not hard to get into. You can register the day before if you want and run the Salt Lake Marathon. Race entry fees range from, for smaller local races, to free to about $100 if you're registering really late for a marathon. So let's talk about what you do when you're there. You've done all of your training, the time has come, you've done your tapering. It's the night before the marathon. You want to eat your carbs, have your pasta, go to bed early, and try to sleep. It's going to be hard. You want to lay all of your gear out that you're going to be wearing. Pin this on because it's a pain in the butt. I didn't mention that you'll have had to have gone to the race expo to pick this stuff up. So make sure you budget that into your time so that you're not going there at 9 o'clock at night. You need that extra time to sleep. Pin this on. This is your bib, and a lot of times your timer will be attached to that. Charge your iPod, charge your watch, set an alarm clock. Don't try wearing or eating anything new. And if you have young children that are going to be up maybe in the middle of the night, try to get your partner or a family member to take care of them for you. Also, morning of the marathon, don't forget to eat your breakfast. Hydrate 2 hours early. It might be cold, so you can wear sweats. And if it's a race that has a drop bag, you can send them to the finish line. Or if it isn't a race with a drop bag, you can wear something that you don't really care about and then just throw it off to the side of the road at mile 2 or 3. It's usually a pretty fun camaraderie experience up there. There's fire pits, and you get to talk about your times and the different races that you've run. So enjoy that, you'll like it. Also, it's smart to wear like a garbage bag in case it's going to rain. And if it's going to be muddy at the start, to protect your shoes, put the garbage bags over your shoes, because your shoes are going to be new. You're going to want to have shoes that have less than 20 miles on them. I didn't mention that. So to help you with the race. And use the bathroom when you get up there. Get in line to go to the bathroom because they're really long, and then get in line again because you're going to be up there a couple hours, and so you want to empty your bladder as many times as you can. You'll be anxious, but try to be happy because you made it to the starting line without any injuries, and you've trained, so you've done your work. Now you just have to get to the finish line. To get through the race, it's often nice to have your family members send you texts in the middle if you can have your phone accessible to have those extra things to motivate you. And it's nice to have someone maybe to split up the legs of the race. If you get close to the end and you can have a family member that's maybe a runner, say, will you please run these last few miles with me if the course is accessible, so that you have a buddy to get you through those last few miles that are really hard. Just get through them. You can do it. Let's see. Crossing the finish line is a really cool experience, and you might be feeling pain, but try to smile and put your arms up and celebrate, because it's your moment, and you've done a really good job. And then after your marathon, you want to make sure to take some time off. Don't run for 4 days, and then slowly get back into it. Try not to get depressed. A lot of marathoners do that because they feel like they finished their goal and they have nothing to work for, but don't worry, you'll be hooked and you'll be racing again. So buy your photo, you deserve it. And oh yeah, you get to get your exciting medal. I have several of these. Make sure to get that at the finish line. And remember, to avoid injury, you want to run at maximum 1 marathon per year. But you can do little races on the side too. So that is the end of our racing training series. I hope you've learned a lot about training for a marathon. I enjoyed this time. Thank you.